So you finally got your hands on the RSQ3?
I have. That wasn't the start I was expecting. I just said to him, we'll just go through the thing and then we'll
waffle as usual.
Starts it off without even...
Yeah.
I thought he was just talking to me regular.
No. You see you've got your hands on it? What do you think?
Yeah, so we have got our hands on the RSQ3 eventually after about a week. So I've been driving this now for, well, about a week really. And just getting to grips with it and just sort of like, this is the first drive, proper drive, that I'm going to do my own little, just what's the car like. So I've already got it in my mind what I'm going to say on camera, but because you used to sell these, you can talk.
I don't think anybody knows that.
Well,
no one actually knows that.
He used to sell these and he still doesn't know much about them. He had to Google about the suspension a minute ago, but that just means that he is more knowledgeable than he was like half an hour ago.
Well, it's the information I've retained isn't all that much, to be quite honest with you.
So, before we get out driving, we're just going to go through the specs. So if you didn't see the video last week, picked it up, not going to go through all of it. 400 PS, which is about 395 horsepower, 2.5 litre turbo, 480 metres of newton meters of torque. Meters? What?
Meters of Newton torque.
Meters of something.
Same thing, innit?
So it's got shitloads of everything, basically. Everyone's obsessed with power, horsepower, torque, everything. I am, anyway. Forget about brakes. So, do you know anything about the brakes?
The big brakes.
All right, how many piston calipers?
Some piston calipers.
Six
piston calipers, yeah.
They're about
375mm rotors.
Yeah.
And so 310s on the back.
Your head's about 375mm. So the rotor's as big as his head.
Nah, they're bigger than that. I've got a little P-head.
So pretty big, right? So we'll see how they go.
Thanks. And these have got the optional red calipers. They're usually black. You can spend, I think, nearly 400 quid to have them painted red. Which we did. Which we did, yeah. Because
they look miles better.
It matches the sex red seats as well. So.
But just let me talk about the interior. I know it's not really an interior talking about video, but this to me, I love this bit going across the top. As soon as it gets to here, it's like it's missing something. And this is a Vorsprung edition, which is the top of the range. You cannot get higher. You can't get anything higher. You can't add extra stuff. It's got everything. It's just something missing. What? It's like there should be a tape deck there, you know, from 1980.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like a little sort of like cassette player.
It is a bit of a weird blank.
And what's that? Are you not telling me Audi have made a car there's something supposed to be there?
I reckon that may be for your tow bar or something, maybe your electric tow bar or something.
No, that goes in the boot. Yeah.
Maybe that's for the heads-up display you've not got, thought you did have. Or maybe it's for the electric memory seats that you thought you did have and not got.
Well, can I just complain about this? Because I'm really pissed off about this. Yeah, the Q5 we had before, Vorsprung, he said, got everything on it, electric, everything basically.
Yeah.
So I get in this the first time, I'm like, right, where's the thing for the seat to put me in my position number 2, because it's my wife's car, so I'm always second in the line. There's nothing there. What's the other thing? No memory mirrors. There's no memory anything. It's got all these ECUs and like 17 ECUs probably. Can't even put the seat back into the position that it come out. So that's the first thing I'm going to complain about this car. It's shit for that. And before we get out, I'm just going to go through the settings because I want you to tell me what all this stuff means.
So I've got to do this like I usually do a handover?
Yeah, like a handover. Like, really? So I bought the car off you.
I shouldn't be in the car.
COVID. Oh, COVID.
Yeah, I should be pointing at you through the window.
But you're in my group of like
in your bubble
thing.
Okay.
Right, so we go onto the car. All the other stuff, radio, media, telephone, that's all set up by the dealer or the handover guy, i.e. you.
Yeah.
So you don't need to touch that. The only one really is Audi Drive Select, and we've got efficiency, comfort, auto and dynamic. Right, so tell me what's happening.
So efficiency makes it very boring to drive. Comfort makes it very boring to drive. Auto will monitor how you're driving the car and we'll set it up accordingly, which will probably put it into lunatic mode. And then dynamic will put it into dynamic mode. Sporty mode, that's as fast as it can go mode. However, there are now RS1 and RS2, the buttons on the steering wheel, and you can set those two up however you want. So they're like individual modes really. You've got 2 different RS settings. It doesn't make it any more anything unless you set it up. So you could still put it into RS1, but then you could still have the drive system inefficient even in RS1. I've no idea who would do that.
No.
You could have the suspension in comfort, you could have the steering in comfort, you could have the engine sound subdued.
You're definitely not going to have that.
You could have the Quattro system in comfortable.
Quattro in comfortable, what does that actually mean? Because that's a 4-wheel drive system.
I would have thought it's predominantly just front wheel drive then.
But if you selling these, why don't you should know that.
Mate, all people want to know is how much is it and how fast does it go? That's it. No one's asked about any of this sort of stuff.
Don't put it in comfortable and subdued. Make sure it's in dynamic, pronounced, dynamic.
There you go then. So you could do all that now. Dynamic
But
pronounced.
what we're going to do is, when we go out, we're going to put it in RS1 and have RS1 in. I'll tell you what, we'll set it up now. So RS1 is going to be drive system, efficient, suspension, comfortable, steering, comfortable, engine sound, subdued, quattro, comfortable, right? We're not going to go in the middle. We're going to go soft as you like, soft as you can go there, and then we'll stick RS2, everything
at level 10.
And we'll go out and we'll see what the difference is really in the real world of B roads, which is what we're on. So first thing with any car that's got 400 PS manual.
You know you've got it in auto mode, don't you?
No, I haven't.
You have?
What do you mean I've got it in auto?
Auto, so it's auto mode. So this is, there you go. Now you.
I was going to go to that.
Oh, so you want to stay in auto?
Messing my shit up here.
Come on then.
Right, so we're in auto. Let's leave it in auto, right? But manual auto. So let's just see.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
All right, I'll put it in auto then.
Auto.
So it's fully auto now. Bloody hell, let's restart again.
Fucking hell, I understand what your missus says now. I get it.
Jesus.
You're hormonal.
Now the first thing when we pull away is it's going to sound like shit. So,
I mean, it definitely didn't sound like shit, but it doesn't sound.
It sounded pretty good, to be fair.
It doesn't sound as good as it does in RS.
But the one major thing for me then, it was a massive lag with the gear changes. Huge. It was like I could have changed gear myself faster.
Is that like you're trying to tell it telepathically that you want to change gear, and then it has to think about it, make a brew?
Yeah.
And then change gear.
Because as you know, an ECU maps itself to your driving style. So this car has only done 259 miles with predominantly my wife driving it, so that's why the gear changing is super slow.
Yeah.
So going down, talking about all the other stuff now, brakes, you know.
Oh my Christ!
Brakes.
You could have warned me.
Brakes are pretty good, really. Oh shit! The camera's in the back.
And you could have warned the driver behind us. I'm joking. It wasn't a driver. The ABS didn't kick in then either, did it?
No ABS. These brakes, I would say they're better than the GTR.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Don't forget though, that's a much heavier car, that.
Yeah, so this is 1,775 kilos.
Not that he's Googled it.
Not that I've asked him to Google it. And
you sounded so knowledgeable then for about 5 seconds.
Actually, yeah. I know everything about this car. So this auto mode is the steering. What's the steering? Is it a
steering's in comfort, but if you start driving it around like a lunatic, it should make the steering a bit heavier for you. So it's supposed to monitor how you're driving the car and then set it up accordingly. That's how auto is supposed to work. The drive select mode auto, not the gearbox mode auto.
So this to me, it still feels, I don't know, quite heavy. Actually, no, you're right. So going pretty slow now, and it has sort of like smoothed out. They're very light steering. So the steering, to be honest, is really good. It turns even you get the typical Audi understeer, which we haven't experienced in this car yet because we've not gone fast enough, but I can understand it will understeer because they all do it. But it does feel nice and responsive, so that's a good start. We'll put it in RS1 mode now, but what we've done is we've set it like we said before. RS1 mode is in efficient, comfortable, subdued and comfortable, so everything is on the soft side.
This is basically how comfort mode sets the car up. It's exactly the same. Right,
so what I'm going to do is manually shift. That still sounds really good. Bit of understeer there. It is good. I mean, that's in soft suspension, which is good. I tell you what, if that's in everything super soft, it still gets round them bends.
That's in your missus mode,
which is that's really good, that, because it shouldn't be that good in all the soft, but it's dead comfortable as well.
You could feel it wallowing a little bit, but whilst everything is in comfort mode, you'd expect that. You'd expect it to sort of wallow a little bit, you'd expect it to sort of roll around, but it felt controlled, which is that's what everybody says. They're just safe, boring, but
and to be honest, in the softer settings I would have expected a lot more sort of like understeer basically, and I can't say there was any there. your grip. And when you're turning in, I mean, it's turning there, it's turning exactly where you're going in.
So soft, you can feel it sort of wallowing around loads.
But you're turning in, and I'm looking at the steering wheel there thinking, how is this turning? It's turning in and it's going exactly. And for such a big car, I mean, I know it's not a big car as in a big car. It's still a small SUV, but it's still sat up high, and your centre of gravity isn't exactly on the floor, and it's getting round so well. It's definitely quicker between them gears, so it does make a big difference having it in manual,
which no one will ever have it in other than you.
I don't know.
95% of people.
Are you telling me?
Will drive this car in automatic.
Are you telling me?
100%.
95%.
Nobody buys an automatic to then manually change the gears.
This is the point of having paddles. Why did you put them in if you're not going to use them?
Well, you will, but like 1% of the time.
Yeah, but I drive it like this all the time. I like changing gear.
Is that why you prefer the Focus?
Maybe, yeah. I don't like changing. Well, it gets a bit boring doing a manual.
Yeah, honestly, on my life, nobody buys an automatic to then change the gears themselves. So the majority of people, I mean, petrol heads that watch this will probably have a difference of opinion, but me selling these cars, I can categorically tell you now that at least 95% of the people that buy automatic cars, whether they're performance cars or not, leave it in automatic 99% of the time. They'll have the occasional little blip through lanes like this, and they'll change the gears themselves. I'm one of them. Hate me, whatever, but I am one of them. If I'm just tootling around town and driving normally.
I don't know why anyone would want to have it in like a high, sort of like an RS1 mode or an RS2 mode, and then let the car decide to change gear. Imagine going around a corner and then it decides to change gear. You can't let the car change gear. You've got to change. It doesn't know when you're going around a corner. So imagine if you get into a corner and it says, I'm going to change down. That could potentially throw the back end out or anything like that.
It depends where your revs are held, so it'll still know. It will still know. It doesn't know you're going around a corner, but it will know if you're at 5,000 RPM, you briefly lift off, it's not then going to change gear for you.
Yeah.
It will keep it in that gear.
You know what I was saying to you before about being confident? If I left it in auto, I wouldn't be confident. So let's put it into RS2 mode. So just to double check, everything there, everything is in dynamic. Probably won't be able to hear on camera because it just doesn't pick up the noise that well. But already the car's ticking over and you can hear the 2.5 litre, just that 5-pot sound. Very distinctive.
It sits it up, ticking it over just over 1,000 revs.
Yeah,
whereas before it sits just under.
You looking forward to this?
No.
Bit of understeer actually. Grips so well that. To be a bit careful because obviously there's cars coming the other way. It is so good.
That, I mean, I was still shitting myself. You'll clearly see that because I'm not in control of the car. I fucking hate it. But the difference there in the body control was like night and day, and I'm not even driving it. You could feel how much more planted the car felt. There was no sort of wallowing around. It felt like a completely different car.
Like the roll went. Even though the roll wasn't causing a problem before, roll makes you feel uncertain if the car's going to actually grip. But it took the roll out completely, and you looked into the suspension before. Yeah. And it's adaptive, and it'll do all kinds of like, well,
yeah, so it's controlled diagonally, similar to the setup on the RS4 that we've got, the 2007 B7 RS4. So they're linked diagonally with the hydraulic oil, basically, and they...
You look at this from the outside with the cutaways, it's a big car, it's a big small car, and it shouldn't get round them roads that well.
Not as an SUV.
But it does.
Quite a while ago, somebody at Audi told me that the S-tronic gearbox sort of, not only does the ECU map itself eventually, the S-tronic gearbox does as well. So the truth in that, I'm not too sure, you guys might know, but it needs time to sort of develop and learn when to change gear based on your drive, your driving habits and things like that, and it needs so many miles to sort of get through. So
I still think this little bit we've done now, the ECU has picked up on the driving style and has actually said, do you know what, I'm going to change gears a bit quicker. Because you change gears...
I can hear you complaining about it.
Yeah, exactly. You change gears with a flappy, it doesn't mean it's going to change gear. You're pressing a button, which by the way, they're too far in. They're too stuck in, and he said to me, look at this for an excuse.
He's got little girl hands.
I can't reach him. You know, they should be there. They should be a bit further out. That to me is like, it's like a different car in RS2 mode. It's like it's got 30 more horsepower.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
So in efficiency, which is what you've got it in RS1 mode, because you've dumbed everything down, that's just like having it in efficiency. So on the cars that aren't RS products, you would usually in the drive select have efficiency, comfort, auto, dynamic, and then you have individual. An individual is all they've done in this car is rename RS1 and RS2 from individual. That's it. So the RS1 means absolutely nothing. You can have RS1 in efficiency mode and it's just like pressing efficiency in any other car. It's exactly the same. So in the RS1 mode in this, that's the reason why there's so much of a difference, because you've literally just took it from level 1 to level 10.
But my main thing to do this test today, and I understand that, is just to see if you can tell any difference between all these settings.
Yeah.
Is it all a gimmick, RS1 mode, RS2 mode?
Like the S button in our RS4.
Yeah, which does absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. But that to me, shifts gear quicker, it's more brutal on the shifts, you can feel it's all like banging through the gears.
Feel suspension over these bumps as well.
Yeah, and the suspension stiffens up, but it's more responsive, and that's got to be to do with the remapping of the throttle, because the throttle response just, it's daft things like in first gear, just sort of like red lines quicker. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
so there's probably just more boost.
Yeah.
Gives you way more boost from the turbo. Sharper throttle response, quicker gear changes.
Yeah, it's definitely, for me, talking about this car now, when I get to drive it, it's just going in RS2 all the time, and I'll deal with the fuel consumption, because to me, manual, changing, non-auto, and you know, it's got to be flappy paddles, RS2.
Really?
I'll leave you, if you ever get to drive this, because he's not insured on it yet, because he's got like 17 points on his license.
No, I haven't.
maybe that was a lie. He's gonna have it in auto, comfort. He's gonna have his seat that are like way back. I'm
not. I still like to have it in dynamic, so I just leave it in dynamic. So everything's in sporty mode, but I just leave the gearbox to do its own thing until I get on roads like this. See, I can't be arsed changing flappy paddles round town. It's an absolute ball ache.
I love it.
No, fuck that.
This is why it's such a good channel you're watching, because we don't agree on anything really.
Well, no.
The only thing we agree on in this car is it looks good.
Oh yeah, it does look good.
It does look good mode.
And I've not, I mean, there's been 1 or 2 comments from the guys on the, on the pickup video that have said, it's, it doesn't really do anything for me. 1 or 2, but the vast majority of you sort of agreed with us. It does look good.
But that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching.
Like, subscribe.
As always. I'm not going through all the, I've got to keyframe all these things when we do that.
Oh really?
Just subscribe and it's there. Obviously like if you like the video, and comment as always. I don't know what we're going to be back in next. It's going to be something, maybe this.
I've got to drive the GTR. You're going to let me drive
that?
Yeah,
maybe next video.
I've got to drive the GTR, although he won't insure me on it. Like, did you take Neen off as well? Did you take your wife off it as well?
Yeah, I did.
You did, yeah. So he's jibbed his missus off his insurance, and he's like absolutely like you're holding it back. You're not letting me have a go.
Yeah. So next video, maybe Ben will drive the GTR and he'll rip it apart, because he doesn't like Datsuns, Nissans, and all that. So leave that for another video, and we will see you on the next one.
Ta-ra! Thanks for coming.
Cheers.
Thanks.